Jennifer Lopez, please approach the stand. It was like time itself stopped. Gasp after gasp filled the room. Reporters literally dropped their pens. Jaws hit the floor, and outside, the media went full frenzy. Cameras flashed like it was the Oscars, not a courtroom. And then she walked in. Jennifer Lopez, yes, the J.Lo, stepped into that courtroom like she was walking a tightrope of secrets. She wasn't glammed up for a red carpet. She was in a charcoal gray power suit, flanked by federal marshals. No wave, no smile, just dark sunglasses hiding the weight of 2 decades. And when she finally sat down and took them off, honey, the entire courtroom leaned in. The judge's voice was calm, but cut through the chaos like a blade. Miss Lopez, you've been called to testify due to your documented history and personal relationship with Mr. Combs, particularly between 1999 and 2003. Do you understand? And softly, barely above a whisper, she said, I do. You could hear a pin drop. All eyes darted to Diddy, and for the first time, he looked rattled. His fingers drummed on the table, his lips locked in a tight line. The power shift? Instant. The prosecutor wasted no time. Ms. Lopez, you were present during the 1999 nightclub shooting in NYC with Mr. Combs. Is that correct? Yes, she said. You were detained by NYPD, released without charges. Do you recall what he told you during the drive from the scene? She hesitated, then dropped the bomb. He told me not to speak to anyone, that his people would make it go away. Boom. The room froze. Then came the paperwork. The prosecutor pulled out a file. Do you recognize this? Jennifer looked. That's my police statement, but it's missing pages. Exactly, the prosecutor said, her tone sharp. Pages sealed by private legal counsel and allegedly edited at Mr. Combs' request. Diddy's lawyer tried to object. Speculation, but the judge slapped it down. Overruled. Next question. Ms. Lopez, do you remember attending a party at Mr. Combs' Miami mansion in 2001? Jennifer blinked. Yes. Were cameras allowed? No. Phones were taken at the gate, and guests were told. This was a spiritual and creative renewal experience. Was that accurate? Jennifer's face darkened. No. There were rooms I wasn't allowed in, people I didn't recognize. The music wasn't for dancing. It was staged, controlled. And did he ask you to stay silent? She nodded. He said if I loved my career, I'd keep those memories private. The jury shifted. You could feel the air get heavier. This wasn't J.Lo, the superstar. This was a woman cracking under years of pressure. Still poised, but finally letting truth slip through. And did you? The prosecutor asked gently. Did you stay silent? Jennifer turned to Diddy. Yes, for 24 years. The room stopped breathing. 24 years. The prosecutor stepped forward again. Let's revisit January 14th, 2000, just weeks after the shooting. You and Mr. Combs were seen entering a Beverly Hills after-party. Jennifer nodded. He said we were celebrating putting the worst behind us. I didn't want to go, but he insisted. And what stood out? It wasn't a party. It was an audition. The courtroom blinked. Huh? Jennifer continued. He paraded people in front of select guests, models, young artists. Everyone had NDAs thicker than a Bible. It felt like they were being chosen. I don't know for what, but it was cold, controlled. Like transactions? Then came the receipts. The prosecutor showed an email chain from a confiscated laptop. Her name was right there, next to the words Jay knows reinforce the pact. Reassure her this is her launch pad. Jennifer stiffened. Yes. He said talent wasn't enough. Allegiance is what made stars. What did that mean to you? It meant, shut up and don't ask questions. Did you ever fear him? The prosecutor asked. Jennifer paused, breathed deep. Yes. Not because he hit me, but because I knew what he could do. The reach, the people he owned, the favors. I didn't want to disappear, so I stayed close. I stayed quiet. The courtroom was grieving, not for her fame, but for her silence. The years she had to fake loyalty just to survive. And do you regret staying silent? The prosecutor asked. Jennifer's voice trembled. Every single day, she looked right at the jury. I saw people disappear, not literally, but from rooms, credits, opportunities, and I knew if I spoke up, I'd be next. A pause. But I'm not afraid anymore. Cue the judge. This court recognizes the emotional toll will break for recess. But the silence didn't end when the gavel struck. Oh no, it thickened. People weren't seeing Jennifer Lopez, the pop goddess, anymore. They were seeing Jennifer, the witness, the survivor. And across the aisle, Diddy? He looked small, powerless. because the woman he once counted on to stay quiet had just become the biggest threat to his empire. When recess ended, the courtroom lights flickered back on, but the mood, it had shifted. What started as just another celebrity trial had turned into something far more intimate, raw, dangerous. Jennifer Lopez wasn't just exposing Diddy, she was unsealing a vault that had been locked tight for over 2 decades. Jennifer returned to the stand. Her posture was tense, but her resolve unshakable. The glam was stripped away. What remained was a woman reliving trauma, but this time on her terms. The prosecutor approached, holding something tiny. A USB drive. Ms. Lopez, she began, you mentioned private events at Mr. Combs' properties. We've obtained a never-before-submitted surveillance audio file from October 2002. Do you consent to us playing it? Jennifer took a breath. Yes. And then the audio rolled. You could hear party noise, laughter, glasses clinking. Then a chilling voice cut through. Diddy, she's hesitant, but she'll come around. She knows what's at stake. A second voice. You sure about J.Lo? Diddy. Trust me, I know how to handle her. Gasps rippled. Jennifer's face went pale, her jaw clenched. The courtroom was frozen. Do you recognize that? The prosecutor asked. Jennifer nodded. That was the night I left the party early. He wanted me to introduce certain people to industry guests, people I didn't even know. I told him I felt uncomfortable. He scolded me, said I embarrassed him. And what happened after that? I didn't get calls for 2 months. Nothing. No movies, no music. It was like I didn't exist. You believe he blacklisted you? Jennifer didn't hesitate. I know he did. When I finally confronted him, he said, next time, remember who gave you your platform. Boom. Another courtroom bomb. Diddy's attorney shifted uncomfortably. Lopez, the prosecutor continued. Did Mr. Combs ever ask you to testify falsely? The air thickened. Yes, she whispered. After the shooting in '99, he asked me to say I was in the bathroom, that I saw nothing. And did you? Jennifer nodded slowly. I was scared. I did what he told me. Diddy looked wrecked, pale, sweaty. He wasn't the king of anything anymore. His empire crumbling in front of everyone. But the prosecution wasn't done. They had one more secret weapon. A sealed envelope marked, confidential interview, Alina Torres. This, the prosecutor said, is a deposition from Mr. Combs' former assistant, under NDA until 2024. It has now expired. The video began, a grainy clip, a woman in her early 30s, sitting in a legal office. My name is Alina Torres. I was Diddy's executive assistant from 1998 to 2003. Her words came like knives. Jennifer Lopez was different. She had her own brand, and that made her a bigger prize. If he could control her, he could control anyone. She paused, then added, I saw threats, her name on lists. Once, I overheard him say, J.Lo's getting smart, remind her who built her stage. Then came the worst part. I once delivered a hard drive labeled Angel Sessions. It was party footage. Her included. She never saw the cameras. None of them did. The courtroom was motionless. I sent an anonymous note to her manager once, Alina said. A week later, I was fired and paid off to stay quiet. Silence. Then a slow pivot of all eyes to Diddy. The man looked shattered. His hands trembled. He stared at the floor like he could disappear into it. The prosecutor didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She turned to the jury. Jennifer Lopez didn't testify as a star. She testified as a survivor. And now the others, the dancers, assistants, stylists, they're coming too, because she lit the match. The judge called for another recess. Outside, the media had exploded. Inside, there was only one truth. Diddy wasn't just being accused anymore. He was exposed. And Jennifer? She hadn't just taken the stand, she'd flipped the script. The courtroom had barely recovered from the last shock when the judge returned. No one whispered, no one coughed. The silence was so heavy, it felt like a punishment all on its own. And then came the moment that had everyone holding their breath. The prosecutor approached again, this time not with a USB or a folder, but with a laptop connected to the court's central screen. Your Honor, she said, her voice low and heavy, we have one final piece of evidence. This will tie everything together. Past abuse, present manipulation, and the full scope of what Miss Lopez was forced to endure. The screen flickered. A video titled Private Residence, December 2007. Audio surveillance, V12. That alone sent a wave of murmurs across the gallery, but the judge allowed it. The prosecutor looked at the jury. This video was found during a federal raid. It was buried, not listed on any security log, not acknowledged by staff, but it existed, and it captured something damning. The video began. The footage was eerie. Dim lighting, plush seats, mirrored walls, and there he was. Diddy. Sitting casually with two men whose faces were blurred. He leaned in. She's getting too nostalgic, Diddy's voice said. Keeps bringing up 99, hinting she wants to clear the air. One of the men, you want us to push back? Diddy, not yet. Just remind her who protected her career. If she forgets, I've still got the 2 reels. The other voice, the full cut. Diddy, all 3 angles. The courtroom gasped. Even the judge leaned back in his chair. Diddy wasn't just reminiscing, he was planning. Calculated. Cold. He didn't even say her name. He didn't have to. Everyone knew. And Jennifer? She didn't cry. Didn't flinch. She just sat there, staring at the screen. At the man who once claimed to love her, now caught on tape, threatening to detonate her life. This, the prosecutor said slowly, was never a romance, never a mentorship. This was blackmail. This was premeditated control. The judge slammed his gavel. We'll break for deliberation on the video's admissibility, but no one moved. Diddy slumped in his chair, his swagger gone, his silence screaming guilt. His lawyer leaned in to whisper, fast, desperate. But Diddy just shook his head. He knew. This was it. This was the moment the story flipped from allegation to confirmation. Jennifer had carried years of silence, but now that silence had turned into a spotlight, and it was burning down the whole house. The next day, skies overcast like even the universe knew justice was about to thunder. The courtroom was flooded. Reporters lined up at dawn. Protesters shouted outside. Supporters held signs, "We believe you. Thank you, Jennifer." End the silence. Inside, calm, dead calm. Diddy sat alone. Not a superstar, not a mogul, just a man in a suit too expensive to save him.